What is up, my friends? This is the Protect Your Neck podcast, and I'm your host, Dan Tom, analyst whose work you can find over on MMA Junkie as well as the ActionNetwork.com. But on this here program, the Protect Your Neck podcast, we break down high-level MMA. Hopefully, you're listening to this before the fight, recording this on a late Thursday night, coming in late as usual. Apologies, not trying to be that guy, but I guess I am that guy, and I appreciate the rest of you for being here. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Don't blame you if you haven't. We don't really, between me being late to my own show and then late getting this up, also was late posting this, so my bad on that. But we're going to try to get a little more earlier shows, maybe toward like 7 or 7:15. Still hard to go for Wednesdays. I'm going to make sure to share this out. What's up, Mark, fellas? Good to see you. Oh, just a Stone Brewing beverage. Nice. Well, and I was going to say, I shouldn't be surprised that you get those out there. I mean, Stone's been bought out by bigger brewing companies, which means better distros, which is a definite plus of that. So hopefully you don't mind the Stone hoppiness, sir. I don't. I just haven't had it in a minute. And I like me some IPAs as well, even though I got to stay away from those. So cheers. Have one for me, Mark. Thank you, guys. We'll see if we can get through this short to make up for it and ease the pain. Why make it any longer than it needs to be, right? So if you're listening in the future, you can look at the timestamps, and if it says longer than an hour and 20 minutes, you can just give the old Willem from Mallrats, you dumb bastard. Great line delivery, like top 5 line delivery. Willem to that little girl in front of the Magic Eye stand in Mallrats. Starting the 90s obscure references early. Wow, Dan, that's really good for your said goal timing. Yeah, basically, before we get started into recapping the previous week, which sucks, but and we'll get into what I got for you for this week. Just want to let you guys know that those of you, and there's been a lot of content shift, it seems like. My quick picks, we had that shifted to not just the one article. It's on fight day and kind of spread out. So it's a little harder for me to share. If you're not seeing those, make sure you're staying tuned and following MMA Junkie, of course, for those. It looks like my main card breakdown is not released into that same day too, which, I'm not going to lie, that kind of deflated my sales a bit. Very grateful for my job, love it. So grateful to be doing what I'm doing. I appreciate you guys for supporting. But it's just funny, over the years, like I used to do mixedmartialanalyst.com, the website, my website that supports this here program, the Protect Your Neck podcast, for free. If you want to go over there through click-throughs, even though I'm having to fix that, I'm having to do a bunch of stuff. It's just a lot for one person. I'm exhausted. But yeah, that website, if you go in there, my old breakdowns where I started doing this, nearly a decade ago. We're about 1 year shy officially. I've been doing it a decade off the record, but about almost a decade officially. Hey, what's up, Ghost Phantom? Good to see you, buddy. But I've been doing that officially, and I used to do the whole card with the format that you still see at MMAJunkie.com for my in-depths at least, and so glad and grateful again. Not only they picked me up, but they kept that format when they picked me up. And then it was like a little too much for they just wanted the main card though, and I was like, it's fine. It's with the UFC schedule picking up as it did a decade ago, or it was already in the process of picking up like a decade ago, right? We're in the Fox era, right? It actually became a little easier to do the main cards, and you still had Joe Silva booking the main cards for the most part, or the Joe Silva format. So the main cards actually made sense. Like lightweights and featherweights actually opened it. We weren't just polluting it with just whatever middleweights we could find just cause middleweight. Not to mention the force feeding of low-level light heavyweight. So it wasn't like that bad. And then, those weren't clicking as well. So they moved it to just like main cards and co-main in-depths. And we messed with some different formats for the main card until we found the quick picks, which was kind of the easiest for me. And that's what people seem to like. So I really like that, to be honest. I would say people seem to like that, although these seem to be clicking better. And again, these decisions come from above my head or any of the people over at Junkie. By the way, shout out to Ed Zitron, the Rod Economy. I love Better Offline, but one of my favorite podcasts right now. And thanks for your podcast recommendations, folks, on Twitter, Dan Tom MMA. Let me get that up here as well. But yeah, so it went from that, and and then now it also sucks because, when we talk about, like, rounding it back to the show, I'm going to get on with the show next, try to make this one a fast one, folks. When I talk about, like, closing line value and FOMO, another reason why I hate it is because even when things are going regularly, it's always frustrating for the FOMO game because, again, I can't just, whether it's, gambling Twitter, tweet out a play, analysis Twitter, tweet out a hot take or a research take / cool clip or anything in that spectrum, right? And if I do, it's got to be, me. I got to have it well thought. It's got to go in the big picture for what I'm going to write because I have to write about it in multiple mediums, multiple places, do videos, writtens, podcasts, vocal, right? All these things in multiple times in effect. It's hard just to, and God forbid you factor the OCD in, right? It's hard just to like get a takeout, so to speak. And so there's always that FOMO that I naturally feel, which probably would explain my, attitude towards CLV and the insane FOMO of the MMA betting community, given the influence that or the motivation that they have, given, money, gambling, line movement, and all that stuff. It makes sense. I'm just saying. It's really tough exercises to try to, like, really, like, block that off and focus on your takes and take solace in knowing, okay, as an analyst, I'm going to have better takes if I don't rush it. It's not about being first. It's about being right, all right? And if we're talking about money, I mean, forget about being first. It's definitely about being right? I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, you might get a little better line value or better price tag depending on when you buy your stock, so to speak. But at the end of the day, if you're picking between both, I mean, man, being right just kind of solves everything, does it not? And, quote-unquote, sharp bettors, quote-unquote, will usually wait till weigh-in day anyways to place their bets anyway. So that's another reason why I get mad at the old CLV crew just kind of blowing up lines just to blow them up, and then you hear the take and it's not researched it. And it's like, all y'all motherfuckers got excited, gave everybody FOMO for what? For some fight either we shouldn't be betting or whether you should be betting it or not, low level or high level or not. You'll listen to the analysis and take of it. You're like, okay, maybe even the bet didn't seem bad, but then the analysis, just seems off. And then you get to fight night, and that's what's rewarding. You're like, it feels useless enough. You know what I'm saying? And then you're on a streak like I am. It definitely feels useless, the hard work and all that stuff. And then you're like, one of the solaces I take from the analysis side is like people like John Anik or Laura Sanko, who did excellent, by the way. Shouts to Laura Sanko, excellent on the call, showing that analysis does pay off in certain respects. We'll talk about that, especially with the Rebecki and Fededa fight. She had a great call with that. But yeah, solace of like those people like read my articles, but now that it's going to come out later in the week, the hay is already in the barn there, whether it's people like Anik or Sanko or degenerate gamblers that read my stuff and, their bets are already in, even if they waited till weigh-in day. So people from that crowd asking where my content is, I'm not complaining. I just feel like I owe you guys an explanation because we've had just so many kind of content shifts. That's pretty much where we're at with it right now. I don't have much explanations given to me, much less say. I'm just grateful to be working, super grateful, but that's kind of what it is. But at the same time, even though I'm obviously incredibly grateful, I'd be lying if, it didn't kind of, again, especially a guy who's in love with this process, I've had to kind of part ways and, kind of come to terms with like certain things and like, okay, this is, as much as I want to do like this is not what it calls for. And I just feel like that's been kind of getting trimmed down. And now everything is just kind of wait until fight day. So it's a little frustrating, especially when you're just, and again, I'm just grateful to be working because in this industry, tomorrow I could not have a job, which is another frustrating reason for the losing streak. Because if I had to go on my own and go Patreon mode and charge people and shill mode like the rest of the world, and I'm not shitting on it, it's just the way of the world, right? # capitalism. Not really great momentum to do it off of. It's like, yeah, buy my stuff. I'm on an epic losing streak. So there's multiple anxieties at play. There's multiple things when, if you see me get frustrated, folks, just understand, if you get a camera following me around, there would probably be a lot of, outside of 3 and 4, that's Willie's time. Outside of like, some legit OCD stare-offs and whatnot where time will get wasted. I'm constantly doing shit, whether it's just laundry, dogs, house, stuff, tape, multiple stuff, listening to stuff in the background while I'm doing something. So I'm trying my best, folks, but the good news about this, I guess, which is why I was talking a lot about my start times and having this little impromptu update, is that it's motivated me more for the podcast, knowing that my content and analysis now is not going to be dropping until fight day for the most part, like 95% of it, 100% of the junkie stuff. But you know what I'm saying? So it kind of gives me more motivation to at least have something on Thursday. And I don't know. Part of me is like maybe I try to bump it up a day. But honestly, all that would do would stress me out more, and you guys would have even less of the takes that I feel like I'm already delivering for you guys on. So I'm gonna use this as motivation to try to get takes earlier, more consistently on here from here on out. Tonight excluded, with me being late, and what I'm gonna give you, we'll see. You be the judge, but going forward, I'm gonna try to do better for you guys. For those of you asking, hey, where's your stuff at? Unfortunately, that means you guys have to listen to me. For those of you who just like to do my written work and don't have to listen to me draw on like I've been doing for 10 minutes now, I get it. It's just, again, I'm doing the best I can, folks. I'm doing the best I can. So thank you for those of you who support me. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll do probably less Southpaw reports stuff now, because again, a lot of the stuff I clip is for these articles and stuff. So and I already have been struggling with the time it takes to do those. So I don't know. It depends. Maybe I do them. Maybe I just do them and send them to the UFC broadcast. So hopefully, maybe I have a chance of getting my work on there somehow. But we'll see. It's an uphill battle, folks, so let's get the fuck going. Jimmy Kudo in the house. Makato Kaya Goku. What's up, guys? How you doing? Good to see you all. I hate this new state of media and clout chasing. Yeah, again, folks, between the I know long-winded as it was, the update I gave you, and you see what is growing and thriving. It's I always say vote with your dollars, and unfortunately, the SEO numbers that matter to suits upstairs, and not so much the metrics that I care about or you care about or the hardcore people in the circle. That's what wins, for better or worse, And you see that effect for what gets promoted to, what gets adjusted, right, accordingly. So vote with your dollars. And again, I'm not worth it. Clearly, look at my views and how long I've been doing this. Like, the public has spoken. You're annoying and you suck, Dan. Like, I'm not even talking about me. Like, just go out there and vote with your dollars so we don't see this shit. But I know what you guys are talking about. James Kendrick, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. Your losing is not as bad as MMA line mover, the Jewish bettor who put $5K on Jan and pretended like it was a good bet. Absolutely. Jeez, James going at it. James Kendrick says, I really like you calling out lazy analysis out there. It just horrible state of MMA fandom. Yeah, it's tough. I was really motivated to not motivated, but not motivated to do the work. And even though I didn't get that much work done because I was just fighting that non-motivation, or better known as depression. Yeah, I can't help myself, God forbid. And then you have people like Sanko and Anik just fighting the good fight out there, and really just setting a good example that I respond to. So, all right, let's get the fuck moving on. Let's get through this stuff, folks. I'm not even going to try to get on my rant that you guys know are coming. But, no, I'm just going to state it is because we've just stated it so many times at this point. All right, recap. UFC St. Louis recap. UFC on ESPN 55, 56. Who the fuck knows? Who knows? The Derek Lewis-Nascimento fight. We went, let's see here, 6-6 overall in picks. A 1-2 in straight plays with an asterisk, as well as 6-6 with an asterisk. Should have been a winning night. Should have been 2-1, not 1-2. But that's what 1-2 in straight plays. 1-1 and what the fuck is P? Props. 0-6 in round flyers. Close on a couple of those. Really close. Not should-haves. No robberies on those. But we're, again, just so brutally close. 0-5 on the round robin, which has an asterisk on it for multiple reasons, which we'll talk about. Which obviously means we were 0-1 in the long shot parlay. Minus 4.5 units overall. I only came up half a unit short at the counter. Thank fucking God. For the sake of my bankroll. Trying to take my dog out to the beach on a UFC off week next week. That's one other I'm stressing. I'm trying to take my dog out, see the beach before he goes. He's not, going anytime soon. Was non-cancerous. The tumor we removed. He's not much longer probably. I love you, buddy. I'm just protecting myself. So I'll just say not much longer. And again, when you just keep losing on all ends, you just naturally kind of have low expectations to try to protect yourself. But yeah, we're gonna positive go to the beach. Take my dog to the beach next week. So yeah. Sorry, folks. I'm fucking tired. Barely sleep again, and decent amount of working out this week. Despite not looking like it. Yeah, he didn't do as bad over the counter, thank God. But yeah, let's recap, shall we? God forbid. Ugh. Actually got a tab pulled up. Of course, it's headlined by Derek Lewis defeated Rodrigo Nascimento, TKO round 3. Oh, I had a round 3 ticket at the counter. Even though I only played officially round 2 KO and Derek Lewis KO. Since they don't allow you to take split decision props, which I feel bad. Not that I really feel bad because I couldn't take the ones that counted, which we'll talk about shortly. And I did tweet beforehand in my defense, despite not saying it during the show. Shout out to the Couchside judges, which is a bummer they're going. It's a needed voice in the space, whether you agree with them or not. Dan and Scott are good dudes who did good work, and we needed more of that presence and talk in the space and education. But the fuck was I gonna say? Their show they were talking about Missouri judges and maybe not the best unanimity. Maybe which I don't think actually was the case. They seemed to be pretty good about mixing in veteran judges as much as they could, but previous precedent said that they didn't do that with the undercard, which meant you're getting all out of practice judges for the undercard, and a trend that I picked up kind of since then and verbalized since on the Spinning Back Click MMA Junkie Outlet show. Appreciate them having me always on there. Again, super grateful to be a part of that team. But I said on there, everyone, we've been talking about the crowds, no crowds, since the pandemic, about how it affects fighters. Well, what about the other human beings that are performing, like the judges and the referees? And even from veteran referees, right? Or even from veteran judges, right? Well, there was some questionable scorecards there that weren't from like the, Joe Solis's of Texas, where you can do the stereotype where you're like, oh, and blame the local judge, right? Like, no, we've been seeing it from, veteran referees and judges who you might not respect, but I do, even though I may disagree with them from time to time for sure. Doesn't mean I don't absolutely respect them or consider them a high level or the highest level we got, whatever your perspective is there. I feel that we owe them at least that. But yes, even that being said, we've been seeing, is it just me, guys? Feel free to weigh in. Fenyo in the house, my man. One of my favorite analysts out there. Follow at FenyoXGuy. You guys tell me what you think, but I feel like we've been seeing a lot of these things too, because again, it's like, I don't know if the crowd or this or that, and obviously they're trained to ignore that stuff, but they're also human beings, right? So I don't know. But yeah, so I was gonna say, take the split decision props heavy, and unfortunately they didn't let me bet the women's ones, which we'll talk about again in a second. And even if they did, the over-the-counter places that I go to don't offer those. Even if you go like to BetMGM online, it offers you different at the counter here in Vegas. Again, you guys don't even realize, like, even the houses that we get, they whittle you down depending on your avenue of trying to get into it. And they give you, they want you to bet online, except online, you're better when you're in like every state minus Vegas or maybe New Jersey. If you, New Jersey, Jersey, natives want to weigh in on that for me. But yeah, the rest of you motherfuckers who get the fan duels and stuff, by the way, holy fuck, I would already be retired and out of this game if, not only if I got the lines that you guys do, because not to reinforce that the outside of the luck that I'm playing against, I'm also playing at a handicap regardless of how my luck is looking. Like, because of the lines I get, I'm always getting the worst lines no matter how you cut it, from access to line for line and whatnot. But oh my God, just don't even. I won't even complain about give me this book, give me that book. I want your book. No, give me just one fucking. If I had the round 3 decision prop, I know those are limited. Holy fuck, would I still have been retired by now, folks? Oh my God. Oh, especially with the way I look at fights. Although you could argue that, well, you are good at calling decisions, Dan, but you're good at calling who should win the decision, not who actually wins the decision, Dan. You actually have the worst look when it comes to that. If it's a split or the one you put money on, right? Of course. Yeah. But yeah, that round 3 decision prop. Oh my God. It's not only am I mad that I don't get the same lines as you guys, it's the fact that like you guys should be cleaning the fuck up with that line. Like it's usually like playable chalk at worst from what I see. It's ridiculous. It's goddamn ridiculous. You guys should be cleaning the fuck up with that line. Anyways, so I put an anchor leg, which was Derek Lewis by KO, which, spoiler alert, I still only went 1 for 5 on that untracked round robin slip. That's not where the extra money came from. When I say extra money in a loss, because that's just ultimately what it still is for me at the end of the day. Yeah, that hit, but unfortunately some others that were really close didn't, which we'll talk about. Joaquin Buckley defeated Nursultan Ruziboyev, a unanimous decision. Holy shit. I had a ticket for, of course, and again, this is just, okay, so some of the rounds were close that I didn't. This is actually the one where I do feel like I was kind of stolen from. Joaquin Buckley, Ruziboyev, round 3. That should have been, I mean, it was at least close and should have, and okay, maybe I go back and give it the benefit of the doubt. You're like, okay, it's close enough to where he was doing just enough with the way refs tend to ref, I get it. And you could even be like, with the way Keith Peterson tends to ref, it's consistent with how he refs. However, I'll argue this. And again, I'm not the guy who says robbery or these things or that, but holy shit, man. I'm not the guy to be like, even when I disagree with the call, and it cost me money and like a $500 swing, I'm still praising Jason Herzog and laughing at him, making fun of other bettors because they deserve it. But for all my faults, which there are many, for all the bad things that I deserve, which clearly are a lot, I'm definitely not arguing that at this point. I don't deserve all this or this, but but yeah. How about, forgetting my bet aside, how about just fuck this Keith Peterson and Dominic Cruz feud? I'm not saying fuck Keith Peterson, and you guys know that, despite Dom, getting on all our nerves at certain points, let's be honest, I'm a definitely Dom Cruz fan and defender, known right over here, so you guys know I'm not hating from tying him in, but seriously, fuck this feud. If these officials were just aware of their overcorrections, we wouldn't have these problems with 10-8s. We wouldn't have problems with this damage versus grappling shit if we were just, God forbid, a little more self-aware about overcorrecting the damn steering wheel, which is something that's constantly proven, if not most so, in this whole space by officiating and officials. See forth, oh, I stopped it early, well, now I'm going to stop it late. Oh, I stopped it late, well, now I'm going to stop it early. But at the very least, it's maybe slow, but it's kind of a seesaw effect. But with Cruz and Peterson, it's been a deliberate thing. And whether it's through Cruz through the broadcast or Peterson through its officiating, they are constantly trying to fucking prove points to each other. And it is ruining the experience for all of us. It's also ruining, forget my bets and forget the bettors. It's ruining the viewing experience for all of us. And more important than that, at least from not so much the Cruz side, but the Peterson side, it's ruining the fights that he's touching. All because he messed up on a call that he should have fucking had the best, be one of the best calls on, because I don't know if any, Herzog, is jiu-jitsu. I'm sure he knows a lot of wrestling. He's probably one of the most active and athletic and da-da-da-da. Point is, not a lot of those guys come from wrestling, right? And know wrestling a lot, except Keith Peterson I believe, is a wrestling coach. Yet the call that we're all fucking paying for, right? If you lost on this Buckley, if you lost on fucking Marab, Marlon Moraes over Marab, if you lost, it just goes on and on, right? It's because of this feud. I mean, I think John Anik said himself on one of these many ones that I just pulled out of my ass to cite, and we could keep going if I wanted to, and we really wanted to here. But even John Anik himself, I believe, on his podcast and on-air broadcast was alluded to, but confirmed on his podcast, and I'm sure we could go back and see on one of these many fucking bullshit non-urgency Bobby Hill no calls from fucking Keith Peterson. He like literally stares down Dom, you know? And then Dom, even when Keith Peterson ain't fucking reffing, like what was I watching? This card's headlined by Barboza. So if anybody went to, we watched Barboza Youssef, it's a crazy swinging round, and Dom just keeps beating the fucking point like a dead horse, going, wow, what good reffing here. He is letting the fight. He is letting them fight like a good ref would. Like, Dom, I don't think the gaslight is turned up enough, buddy. I don't think we fucking hear you. I think you should just talk about it for another half a round. And it's literally nonstop. Please, guys, talk in the chat if you guys know what I'm talking about. Am I crazy here? Has this been like a nonstop theme since literally 2020? Since that bullshit stoppage? That, again, if anybody should, and to Dom's defense, if anybody should have known better, is Keith Peterson, who, usually has a long leash and, again, knows wrestling, knows what someone turtling means, looks like, for all the reasons that we stop fights, a guy turtling to get up, Those are often, kind of the worst stoppages, even if it's a fight where we know where it's going, like, was it Cain Velasquez, Ben Rothwell? And that wasn't even a turtle one. He was kind of a little more vulnerable, a wall walk, but still, it was like, okay, that was a weird place to stop it, right? And not even trying to relitigate that, but again, maybe piling a little more on the Keith Peterson side, because Dom Cruz is a sensitive fighter, and then we know fighters are sensitive. I'm a sensitive boy myself, Tommy. But regardless if you're a sensitive boy or girl, there's no room for being sensitive when you're official. There's no room for that shit. You have to throw all your fucking biases out. And the fact that Keith Peterson has continued to prove a point, forget about the betting slips. How about the fucking brain cells? It's fucking ridiculous. So forget about my bets. Show some fucking urgency, Keith Peterson, and do your fucking job. Like, holy shit. Like, it pisses me off more just thinking the fact that this shit stems from a feud. Because okay, maybe I'm over-exaggerating it, but if I am, then what? It's fucking negligence. It's fucking, I'm going to double down. And I know that is part of it. Okay, I'm going to double down, and at least the fighters won't complain. But again, what about fighter safety here? Oh, no, it's about proving a point. And it's okay, because if you get the wrong call, Mike Mazzulli and company will go ahead and change it, even if it makes no sense, like a Weidman versus Silva thing, because, again, it's not about protecting the fighter. It's not about actually protecting a fighter, right? Like, we'll let him get fouled and not give him the win. Or we'll take away their win and just let him take an extra beating and get mad at them for complaining about it. Yeah, this is real. I'm getting real protecting the fighter vibes from all this. So that shit pissed me off. And yes, for what it's worth, that alone was just a $500 swing alone on the tickets. So that was really painful. So again, it's not even just like I'm losing or losing over and over again, which is all like, probably not great for your psyche. But like, you're losing on these kind of calls. You're losing on the controversy of the night. We didn't even get to the most controversy of the night, at least by most people's standards, right? Again, forget about my opinion here, by most people's standards, right? But to constantly be on the wrong end of those two, it's like when I'm talking, it's like, dude, I know that I'm going to get like, a red light. Why do I have to get a yellow? It's like, I know I'm going to get stabbed. Like, what is with the twisting of the knife shit, the same refs or the same fighters getting fucked over, the same situations, or maybe all three of the boxes in one fucking fight. And again, we'll get to it, maybe sometimes it's not a huge swing, like the Benitez decision was similar to this. It was like, what, a slight dog shot with not a lot of units behind it. Like, okay, that wasn't your $500 to $1,000 swings that you normally get, Dan. Okay, well, it's okay, because I've got receipts for those on all the previous events and this one as well, for what it's worth. So no, it wasn't that, the Torres one. But man, yeah, there's a couple swings here, and we'll talk about that. Now this was one of them. So that was fucking annoying. Carlos Ulberg defeats Alonzo Menefield. Again, I called Ulberg left hook for what it's worth. I just thought it was going to be round 2, which is what I ended up putting in the round robin off track, because I had to go scramble for rounds and different stuff, because again, I'm not just complaining for no reason here. My houses just don't let me bet shit, and then the best that they let me bet, they don't let me. I have to bet an even lower level of that at the counter, which is great. But yeah, so that was cool. Predator Pat's open mat, rushed right into that one. Diego Ferreira defeated Mateusz Rebecki. So I'm mad at myself. I'm happy for Fortis. I'm happy for Diego. I'm mad at myself here because I said it right here on the show that if it got to plus 380, which it did, by the way, that I was going to auto bet off value, but I didn't. Part of it because I was overexposed, and I was like, well, maybe I can throw him in a round robin or a hedge round robin, but then I ended up not doing a hedge round robin. But still, here's where I got no excuse, is I put Rebecki round 2. Now, that was my official pick, and for what it's worth, similar to the Orobai round 2, right? Before that, and many other round 2s, it seems like I've been getting chipped out on them, but like, here's how I know the round 2 is not going to cash: when you get everything that you could ask for, right? Like, we didn't have the bad weight cut like the Elvis Brenner thing, even though CDF's had plenty of bad weight cuts before, and he's gassed out plenty and fallen apart, either gassed out and or just fallen apart in round 2, right? We've seen both those things happen. And Rebecki just, even though he's taking more damage than he should, something I said that he does, which was kind of sketchy and why I stayed off it, right? The Rebecki side, outside of this scramble to fill something in for the round robin. Fajeda's just getting it taken to him in round 1, right? So again, you have kind of everything you could ask for going into round 2. So no robbery there by any means, of course. Not that I like to use that word anyways, but you know what I mean. I'm not complaining in that sense. It was just kind of like okay. And if anybody has to complain about this fight, it ain't me. It ain't me anyways. Because he costed a lot more of my friends' money, so I don't want to harp on it. Too bad for their sake. But yeah, Rebecki came back, and shouts to Laura Sanko, who excellent analysis, especially specifically referencing the Merabak-Taisimov fight, who is another guy very similar, where he wasn't like a fraud, like he wasn't like a Shamil Gamzatov, obviously, but at the same time, even though he was good fighter, obviously Taisimov, and obviously Rebecki is a very talented fighter as well, they weren't at the levels people thought they were, right? And this kind of one of those, and the way he did it and stuff, that was just excellent. I loved Laura planting that seed and seeing it pay off. I mean, Dan Tom liking analysis paying off. I know, crazy, right? I want to believe it works. I want to believe it means something. Sean Woodson defeated Alex Caceres via unanimous decision. I'd have to go back and rewatch this one. I just feel like, and Woodson did land some good shots in round 3. So if you're doing that whole overcorrecting the steering wheel, well, this was the best shot of the round, and you're doing the pendulum swinging that can cause natural erasure, which is why I don't like it. I could see how you end up on Woodson. And again, at the risk of, people wanting the most low-level dunk that I feel like exists in MMA, which is, what do you mean it should have been a split? Huh? Like, I do not see what's controversial with saying that I am surprised this wasn't a split. Because usually when you're saying, I think it's going to be a split, or it means I think it has a propensity to be a close fight or whatever, But people go, wait, look, everybody, look. This guy said it was going to be a split in MMA, basically saying that he doesn't think MMA judges are going to agree with each other. What a fucking idiot. And if they say it post-sense, and even if it's the most clearest day fight, and you say, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a split. Hey, everybody! This guy over here, who just saw a fight that's as clear as day, think the judges are not only going to get it wrong, but be descending on it. Because, we've never seen judges dissent on clear decisions, close decisions, or anything in between. That never happens on a week-to-week basis. But let's go ahead and continuing to, we should change. We should all start ganging up, like throwing cans at Ihor Pateria or Waldo Cortez Acosta when they come up on this podcast. Hold your breath next, folks. We should do that to people who make fun of people for splits. And if you've done that before, this is your warning to stop. Realizing how stupid it is. That even the people that do deserve it in that small percentile who are stupid and say it in a stupid way and mean it in a stupid way and are stupid, in fact, people, you lower yourself to their level. Remember, I remember getting shit again back to mixedmartialanalysis.com when I had the drop downs and breakdowns on everything. You can go to the Phil Davis-Ryan Bader fight, right? And their first fight, not the one in Bellator, right? And I was like, yeah, this, Bader's made improvements. I feel like Phil Davis is going off of, working off of a lot of hype that we all had, but I think it's kind of clear he's kind of gone in a different direction with the whole AKA and outfighting instead of pressure fighting, so on and so forth. We're at Bader at this time under Chaz Turner was showing improved striking and boxing. But I'm like, it's just going to be another classic UFC booking. Was when they were just booking all the wrestlers to have boring striking matches over and over again. It just sucked, right? Or they throw Machida in there and then everyone would be scared because they know what he does to wrestlers after seeing what happened to Bader, and it would just kind of be a shitty matchup, right? It was like during that era, so I was like, yeah, it's probably going to be a tight fight where the judges can't agree. And I'm going to probably see Bader's volume edging it out. So, yeah, I'll see him taking a split decision. People are, how could you pick a split decision? Are you stupid? Oh, by the way, Bader won by split decision in a fight that dynamic was that going in and played out exactly how I broke it down. But hey, we gotta go split decision, stupid. Go split this. Sorry. Fuck him. Now, hopefully, as much as you hate me for ruining your eardrums, hopefully you hate that take now as much as I do. It's fucking stupid. And of course, I had split decision on there, so that you should have paid me. Should have paid me right there. So even if, the Rebecca, I'm not going to say that one should have cashed. It's just unfortunate that it didn't. Very cool. That one should have paid me. And then again, if they would allow me, which we'll get to the Torres thing, that should have paid me too. Cortez Acosta versus Varvelis of Spain. What? Wait. Big athletic guy has no ground game. And I know I picked him. It was begrudgingly because we all hate Waldo Cortez Acosta. Okay? Throw your cans. PYN chat in the house. Let me hear you. But yeah, it just, again, this force feeding, the fucking main, and then of course Dana gets mad, Dana's like, who's booking this heavyweight shit? Why are we in the Apex? I'm like, I don't know, Dana. Who is force feeding us the big men? Who is making us stay in the Apex? Good question. Holy fuck. I can't wait to end up on the Spear video, by the way. You hear him getting so gloated. You know your boy's tweet's going to be ending up on there with no context. So that'll be great. Preliminary card, Chase Hooper defeats Vyacheslav Borshev via sub round 2. With the way my night was already going, we didn't even get to the main card. I already knew my night was shit. Like, as soon as he got dropped, I shredded the ticket. And good on Chase. Definitely got to be taking him more seriously. He is improving. Not that I said he wasn't, but you know what I'm saying. I'm trying to give him his props here and definitely, come correct where I need to be corrected, right? But yeah, you listen to Jack Slack's podcast and my guy Fenyo kind of breaking down that exchange. Not, it wasn't a lucky punch or anything like that, but it was the perfect punch. It was the perfect punch. It wasn't lucky. Not like bad luck over here, folks. It wasn't lucky. It was the perfect punch, And that being said, we can't pretend that Borshev's chin hasn't been suspect. I mean, it is suspect. It was suspect before this, right? And I know I picked him and I played him, but again, I didn't expect Chase Hooper outside of the perfect shot because hashtag PYN podcast t-shirt potential, because of course, he's going to land that perfect shot because of course he is. Why not? Of course. And then it's just a beating where we got to watch a beating. And at that point, so my tickets are already ripped up, right? I'm actually rooting for people placing the TKO prop because, again, even though I picked Borshev and picked him because even though knowing he had a suspect chin, going Chase Hooper's not going to be the guy. But in the back of my head, perhaps because I've been conditioned to think this way, and opposites because it's just what happens now, right? As far as results go, at least. Sometimes analysis too, but definitely results. I'm like, wow, what are they pricing the Chase Hooper per TKO prop? And I looked at prices from like $1,100 to $1,500. And I'm like, wow, that'll probably never happen. But, if he gets a mount and maybe just wants to, punch away, I'm like, that's actually worth it in that scenario, right? And so I actually had that thought prior, despite what I ended up picking and playing. So, again, when my tickets are ripped up within the first few minute of the round, first round, I'm actually going and rooting for Chase Hooper bettors at that. Because believe it or not, I'm actually, as salty as I fucking see, I'm actually not a fucking hater, believe it or not. So I'm actually rooting for Chase Hooper TKO bettors with those big numbers that they're on, right? And again, was this Peterson again? But yeah, it was, at least he's being consistent. I mean, that's about the only thing you could say about him, But, I don't know, I hate it, fucking... Even if you're going to risk being overly urgent, like a Mark Smith, who granted has some of the best eyes, so I don't blame him for trusting his eyes. He's also had some really awesome stoppages, like that Jimmy Crute Contender Series one, right? I have to give credit where credit's due. Again, I'm not just some complete fucking hater out here. Have urgency. Show that you're urgent. You know what I'm saying? for your own performance, to give your own performance the benefit of the doubt. God forbid, so the fighters fucking feel safe in there, you know? Because not only are refs like Herzog actually urgent, but he also stays with a protocol where he goes, move fighter, move fighter. So he, the general we, and most importantly, the fighters fighting, know what the fuck is going on and what the stakes are. And there's a protocol there to keep everybody safe. Imagine that. Imagine fucking that. And you can still have a long leash, even if it does cost me money, like the Zhang Weili's last fight with Yan, right? Like, totally cool. Again, I'll keep my same energy for that. I wouldn't sour about that. So another losing night. Wouldn't sour about that. It's another decent swing. I wouldn't sour about that one. Because there was process and protocol. And, you know, and a guy that actually looks like he's fucking trying as opposed to sitting there just going, Bobby fucking Hill. Like, all right, dude. You fucking used up all my goodwill and good benefit of the doubt. Esteban Ribovic defeats Terrence McKinney via first round KO. To quote Anik on his podcast this week, who the fuck did he piss off that he didn't get a bonus? Because seriously, what the fuck? How do you not get a bonus for that? For, you know, not better than Holloway, fucking TKO and KO and Gaethje or whatever. But I mean, that's like fight of the year, or, you know, knockout of the, you know, month, knockout of the year contender at least, you know, to maybe be on, you know, thus far. It was really good. So even though my rounds 2 and 3 didn't happen, because again, who was expecting that, right? People that picked Ribovic, people that picked McKinney. No one expected it that round, that fast, for the flashy first round early knockout. Like, that's McKinney in almost all of his fights, right? If that does happen. So that was crazy. And so the fact that Ribovic gets gypped for it, as well as any round 2 and 3 bettors who had jinxed, and I apologize. Again, that just sucks. But not as twisting the knife as Tabitha Ricci defeating Tisha Pennington via split decision. Shout out to people who actually scored this right. Not just 29-28 the other way, but like the correct scorecard of 30-27. Now I'm hearing less pushback on round 3 and more pushback on round 2, which kind of surprises me. Although it doesn't, it makes me comforted because people are actually paying attention to the criteria, how it's stated, and how it should be going. And again, it was similar. It was more clear than Bader versus Moldavsky as far as, you know, counter grappling, and then they get it right. Or what was it? What was that? Alimale McFarland decision that was, you know, in Hawaii. I was there for. Similar thing where it was like close margins, and then of course when I'm was on it recently on this year, of course, was I forget. I can't even think at this point. I've been just screwed out of so many close decisions here, or clear decisions, which this one I believe was. I mean, I'm not even a fan of close but clear, but like if you wanted to say this was close but clear, I'll accept that. If you're gonna use the word close. Only because that's the only way that you can use the word close in a fight like this. Now, I think that part of the reason in round 3, and I don't even care about the numbers because, you know, that shit's not accurate. But yes, Torres was, without even looking, putting on the numbers. But Torres, she was worried about her cardio. And I think it was the Pantoja effect where the optics fucked her. Because she looked tired. And that looked like the most thing she struggled with the whole fight. Because she was landing strikes the whole time when, you know, what do you call, Ricci had her against the cage, and then flurries at the end of round 2. But in round 3, it's like, yeah, Ricci's landing like, but they're not even like, Dern didn't even land clean and have effect, and Ricci, okay, she might have like had one of her best rounds on that round 3, but I don't think she landed as much as Dern, both to my naked eye, and I'm willing to say that on the stats. Nor do I think she landed as hard or as clean. And I don't think the effect was any different. In fact, I think Dern probably showed more effect with her strikes than Ricci did. You know, again, it's like, well, I hate to say it. Was I talking with of course I brought this up and I referenced this just on the podcast in reference to that year-end show I just did with Feño, right? Where Feño was bringing up a Watterson decision where he goes, I don't know how. And I'm like, I hate to be that guy, fucking feel all misogynist and shit, but like, sometimes the only way to explain it is you were, when I said the Asian wife thing or whatever as a joke for the Watterson, but in all seriousness, if you were looking at the hot chick, right, and your eyes were somewhere else, right, and that's not crazy to say. Again, if there's biases for styles where I am paid to break down a matchup and I'm doing tape on one fighter like I do every week, you know how many times my eyes drift over to the other fighter? If I for a multitude of reasons. Forget even I even like their style, right? You know what I'm saying? So, because biases are real, especially when I like their style. So to accuse, especially a man, of the most male bias, of the most subconscious about male bias, apologies? Question mark. Prove me wrong when you see fights like Ricci Pennington, who, by the way, I think Tisha's really attractive. But you know what I'm saying? There's no denying that the Ricci behind there. You know what I'm saying? I forget, like Matt Serra, who is self-proclaimed ass guy. Matt Serra, who it's so hard listening to that show for interviews, fighter interviews, because there's just absolutely no prep, and it's so painful to listen to sometimes because this put his foot in his mouth, and he means well. Obviously, Matt does, right? He's not a mean guy or anything. It's like, Jesus Christ, Matt, and he's like, I'm an ass guy. And he's always talking about his bowel movements every 20 fucking seconds. Jesus Christ. So he's an ass guy in more than one. But he was like, I like Ricci. I'm like, yeah, I wonder why, Matt. He goes, I really like what she was doing in there. I'm like, oh, do you? Well, what was that? And of course he doesn't explain anything. And they go on and act like they don't even mention anything about the controversy of the decision. Thankfully, Longo, who is still cornering their fighters, despite being the older fighter, his eyes seem to work fine because he said it best on the Anakin Florian pod. He said, I don't know what the hell Ricci even did that was offensive. Like, pretty much, he's like, I don't even know what she even did that was effective offensively. What did she even do? Did I miss it? I'm like, I don't know, Longo. I guess we both missed it, buddy. I guess most of us missed it, except the judges' Cade side, who were not unanimous, but at least even in round 3, it seemed like. It was crazy. Because outside of Tisha looking tired, I guarantee if you go back and watch the times where Ricci lands, who's winning the next exchange after that? There's no way Ricci won even 2 exchanges in a row. She could barely even score with people who weren't betting the fight and would this is just awful. And then she's coming off of the pregnancy, the layoff, just got screwed over again by the other ass of the division. Not to reduce these girls or anything. I'm not trying to. I'm just saying let's be honest here. As far as both judging theory and as far as people not giving a shit that these are some of the worst decisions we've seen in a few years. And of course, your boy here's on the wrong end of them, just like the other ones. It's fucking disgusting. That was just disgusting. And like I tweeted out with the Billy Madison gif, like, you really audit who's a good winner, who knows what they're watching. Because it's either you're a bad winner or you're too stupid to know you're a bad winner. It's like, take your pick. They're not really great options. So, I don't know. Whether it's knowledge, biases or otherwise, a lot of people telling on themselves. And I guess you could say I am too, although is it telling on yourself when you show your work and state your biases and come clean more than anybody else? I don't know. You tell me. Already taking too long on this shit. Trey Waters defeated Billy Goff. Didn't really watch this. Charles Johnson defeated Jake Hadley via unanimous decision. So this is another fight where I wasn't expecting it to be a split, although my bias was there because I bet it, and I was happy for Charles Johnson despite technically picking Jake Hadley. I didn't get to talk too much about this on the pod, even though I did post a Southpaw report. And basically, I didn't like Charles Johnson against Southpaws, and he looked much better in this fight. But if you look at the Southpaw report footage that I posted, he actually really didn't look good. And actually, because I was going to change my pick to a Charles Johnson pick. Like, what are you doing, Dan? It's a close fight. Pick Charles Johnson. And I'm like, nope, because I'm just so anti-Charles Johnson. And if you're so anti-Charles Johnson and don't bet, why did you put the fight to be splitting your round robin, Dan? Well, again, they didn't let me put Ricci by Pennington, which again, that would have cashed for me. If they would have let me put that one in. And then, let's say we get the actual split where it's supposed to be, in Caceres Woodson at the very least. And then we go home winners, and with the round robin paid off, God for fucking bid. But no, this was a part of the scramble. So I had to, and in my defense, I did say that beforehand that I don't. So I'm not just saying that. You guys know my opinion on Charles Johnson. I'm just keeping that same energy. But yeah, it was a close fight, so I'm like, I'm in a scramble. I'm like, screw it, let me throw it in there. Then, of course, Veronica Hardy defeated J.J. Aldridge via unanimous decision. This one I'm not going to die on a hill as hard on, even though, as far as saying that, I was kind of surprised it wasn't a split, even though it wouldn't have mattered because, A, I wasn't allowed to play it, B, it was unanimous anyways. But in my defense, some people not only forget if you thinking it was close enough to justify a split decision or not. I did see a lot of scores for Aldridge, and that could have been a bunch of really biased and dumb people betting it, obviously. So, again, this is not one I'm dying on a hill for, complaining, I should have got this decision. No, I took the dog shot. I had justified reason to. Did the Southpaw report on this one. Again, plenty. This was a big Southpaw report, so this really wore me out this week. Extra just for that alone. So, again, just to get another L is really awesome. And then especially because, like, she's improved, but again, like, everybody was just making too much of a big deal. Like, oh, Dan Hardy in the corner. Like, guys, like, ex-fighters and in the corner is nothing new. I would argue a more, I don't know if auspicious is the right word, but, like, a more noteworthy point is a significant other in the corner because as far as affect, good or bad, well, we've seen when it does go bad, it goes real bad with that significant other one. But, I like Dan Hardy's fine and stuff too, as far as an analyst and all that stuff. I'm sure he's fans, but obviously Veronica Hardy's got a lot of fans. So everybody's kind of infatuated again. I hate to even talk about the popular angle, and I felt myself shitting on it at times when you talk about, shout out to my guy Liam, picks fights. We talk about who the UFC wants to win. I almost like kind of scoff at talk like that, but there is a real purpose for talk like that. And people who do it, shouts to you guys. And I find myself doing it more because you see it come up, especially with these ladies fights. Again, the narrative, the commentary's talking about it, which means everybody else is talking about it, especially if they're already talking about one girl and not the other, already going into the fight. You're not going to get a lot of even conjecture there, right? And then sure enough, not only does she win, which again, I don't even think it was like a terrible decision or anything, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, or anything like that, to be honest, at all. Like, I don't even disagree with it necessarily. But what I do disagree with was everybody acting like she was like the next coming of Christ. They were like, oh my God, the improvements. Oh, this is just a new girl. I'm like, what did she really, I'm like, I guess she won, but I'm like, it really didn't seem that impressive to me. Like, what the hell? So again, just, okay, fine. I lose. I'm used to that. And I can almost be happy because even though, there were arguments the other way, I wasn't crying about that. For me, it was just an honest L. I want to take it and move forward. And sure enough, I can't even take an honest L. Can't even go the first fight of the card without getting that's why I can't listen to podcasts and stay off fucking Twitter, without getting pissed off because again, losing's not bad enough. You gotta see bad analysis continue to fucking thrive. Oh, she was the fucking best ever. I'm like, you're coming your pants, relax. Let's not just type you're coming your pants. You don't have to type and give her a bunch of credit that she doesn't deserve. Like, I don't know. Anyways, salty me. That was fucking too long. 53. Let's I'm gonna try to just go through. It's gonna be mainly a recap this show, probably, huh? We'll see. Now I've got plays coming your way. Just want to pay off the chat real quick. Ghost Phantom, I know you were disappointed at Menefield, but it was quite funny for him to run face first in the fence. Pat Barry's expert coaching on his play there. Yep. I mean, I wasn't disappointed. I didn't pick him or play him, but yeah, that was silly. Jimmy Kudo, speaking of judges' hate, we just have to assume that they are inept at their jobs. I mean, Jesus, not really helping with the way things have been going. James Kendrick, you like the graphic I made for Tisha's losses? That was an excellent graphic. If you do stuff like that, I will share it out as best I can, James. Thank you, sir. Jimmy Kudo, the enforcer, says, yeah, agreed, Dom is being annoying. Yeah, it's just, we're all being punished on the broadcast for their fucking feud. It's so unprofessional. It's ridiculous. Makoto Kayagoku, totally, Dan. Ruins the view experience, and what's worse, MMA media make fun of it and love it. I guess you're talking about that too. Thank you, Makoto. Ghost Phantom, really annoying like that. Peterson not doing a good job just to prove a point. It's taking the health of the fighters, my viewing experience, when Dom talks just bad all around. Yeah, well said, Ghost. Well said. Okay, so I'm not alone on this. You guys agree. It's a long-standing feud that even if you don't gamble, it's fucking gross and unprofessional and stupid. Like, what else? What other boxes you want to check? It'll fucking fit. Hey, one of the good guys here, Aaron Menard, one of the good guys. Love you, brother. Dapper Dan Tom. Thank you, Aaron. One of the good guys right there for sure. Passionate about the sport and fighting from the inside. My guy, Aaron, doing the damn thing. Ghost Phantom. Hey, split draws are my favorite result because it's a bet of generational wealth. See, look at that. Jack Slack likes him too. Look at that. See? Okay, I feel even more justified if Jack is treating him like a given as well. James Kendrick, I will throw my beer can at Waldo Cortez Acosta every time. I don't even drink. Awesome. Where's Waldo sucks? Waldo Acosta, fuck that dude. Yes, chat coming strong. All right, we're gonna break down the card here. Let me just give it a good old share. Ba-da-ba-bum. All right. Breaking down hashtag UFC. This is what you do when you don't have a producer, folks. When I say I do pretty much everything by myself, I do. Shout out to my guy Fenya, holding it down, by the way, with the art. Breaking down UFC Vegas and YouTube now. Hopefully it's UFC Vegas 92. It is, right? Fuck it. All right. Of course, they put the fucking fights under like one of the Road to UFC columns on Best Fight Odds. What the fuck are they doing? Are they just fucking with us at this point? Are they like the UFC matchmakers? Just fucking with us with the format? Like, fucking fuck format. Who needs it? Fuck this sport. All right. On that note, let's see what time it is. All right. 56:30. 6 breakdown. All right, UFC Vegas 92, UFC Fight Night 241, UFC Barboza versus Murphy. Oh my God, we have a 145 headliner. We have a good division headlining. Oh my God, we have, speaking of shitty card formats, we actually have a main card that does not have fights over 170, although we'll get to what they're opening the card with, where they still seem to... Bless me. Excuse me. Where they still seem to mess up the most crucial spot outside of the headliner, in my opinion, whilst proving the co-main event has been dead outside of pay-per-views, or even during pay-per-views, depending on which one, right, these days. Jesus. Depending on who you're asking. Not in a minute, though, but you know what I mean. All right, so we got Edson Barboza, who opened as a dog and is staying as a dog so far. Not a lot of line movement. People agree. It's a respectable line, whether you agree or not. I don't think it should be too much wider either way. We got Edson Barboza, of course, plus 118 is your underdog. Lerone Murphy, the Miracle, minus 115 is your favorite. So this is where I usually would reference my main card breakdown. That's usually out by the time I do these, but since it's not, you'll be getting the first takes right here. So it's cool to go back and watch Lerone Murphy, although it's just really annoying because, again, even with these good fighters like that I should know more, I don't get to know them more because I am paid to break down the main card. And even though they save Murphy for these international cards or fighting in front of his home fucking country, they still bury him on the prelims because good MMA division and, you know, making Sean that I don't know what's going on. Those guys are smart, much smarter than this. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, at least they're giving it to him now. He's undeniable now, I guess. 5-0-1 with that draw, of course, to Zubaira Tukhugov and that really hot Abu Dhabi card with the hot mats. Hell of a debut for him. Since then, really kind of showing off his game. He's got really good calf kicks, and he actually has good, you face Barboza, you want to see someone's leg kick defense. He's actually got decent checks and a really good knack for returning. So both these guys have good offense and defense / sensibilities to return. We knew that with Edson, obviously. He was showing good kick defense against Giga before losing that fight. Obviously, he has the Muay Thai returns, and obviously he has the offense, but I'm saying Murphy has that too, which is really interesting because as we saw with the, and something I mention all the time, and I'll even cite this fight, the Gaethje-Barboza fight, just because someone's good at something doesn't mean you can't come at them with the same attack. And though Barboza has good defense, it doesn't mean he can't be got in that department either, right? But again, at the risk of absolutely correct, and I am stupid, of course, at the risk of sounding like Jonathan Martinez haters. Well, watch out, Jonathan Martinez haters, everybody. This is how it's actually okay to acknowledge that a fighter does more than kick the leg. I know. Take a breath. I know. Lerone Murphy actually does more than kick the leg, so you actually have to look more than at what else they do. You also have to look at what gets them, right? Which is something maybe I didn't do enough of with, to be fair, with that Martinez fight. You could tell I'm still dwelling and still don't forgive myself on that shit. But yeah, so so when you look at the legs, they may nullify each other. / both guys may be a little bit touchy-feely there. Murphy is a little more opportunistic. He likes to do what I like to do, where he primarily fights from southpaw, but will shift to orthodox for that right leg kick. Like Dustin Poirier likes to shift to orthodox and line up his right hand. Like Lerone Murphy likes to shift to orthodox and line up that low calf kick. That's kind of what he likes to do. I think the southpaw look's going to serve him well. It's what he mainly does. And again, with the kicks in that regard, he's not the most high-volume guy in general, which is something to watch out for here, especially with it being his first 5-round fight, going against a legend that, you don't know if he's going to have any kind of autograph syndrome, speaking of Jonathan Martinez against Barboza. I don't necessarily think so, but I do think he will respect Barboza being Barboza, and again, respect the aforementioned 5-round nature, and it being his first 5-round nature at the UFC level, right? So this is something to watch out for. That being said, southpaw and early, I do expect him to be live. I don't know how much, Lerone Murphy's is saying that he's expecting a striking match. Who knows if he goes to turn up the grappling. We'll talk about his grappling in a second on how likely it is that he could replicate a Michael Johnson win. I remember being on that dog money Michael Johnson. He closed tighter, but I remember getting him at near like plus 290, I believe, at a certain point, and cashing that back in the Dizzy. And Michael Johnson, not known for his wrestling, but did incorporate it to the extent that a Lerone Murphy could. However, Johnson, especially then, much more dedicated to pressure fighting. And Lerone Murphy, though he can pressure, he's much more happy to kind of fence, in the sense of like going back and forth the range, seeing what you'll give him. He'll counter. If he gets tagged or if you bring the temperature or come in hot, he'll change his level, which has been tricky because he's had a lot of grappling follies early on in his career where he'll go for takedowns and then almost get mounted, or like weird things will happen and like, why did you do that? Like some real tricky IQ. That being said, A, he's proven that he's super dangerous when he gets on top. And B, he's shown that he can scramble out of the bad positions if he doesn't end on top. He's got a good sense of where the cage is at, a good wall walk. He works from good over-unders in the clinch in general. But he'll usually wall walk and try to hip up or get up off of or hip out off of a strong like whizzer overhook. So he's really good in those areas, right? And his wrestling and has gotten better, and he's been losing position less, even though it's been a low sample size, but as his UFC's career has progressed, right? And it's a small cage, right? So that's there. That being said, looking at it, I believe that Edson is the better clinch fighter. I also believe that Edson, not just his defense, because that's always been strong, it's more getting up's been Edson's problem, despite him always having a good butterfly guard. It's more him getting up against dedicated attritional grapplers like Bryce Mitchell. But what worried me in the Bryce Mitchell fight, rounding back to the southpaw point, and why I think it'll serve Lerone Murphy well early, is that you see Bryce Mitchell, and again, it's very, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Bryce nor Chase Hooper, but it's very Chase Hooper and Borashev. Very similar dynamic. You got the goofy southpaw grapple sticky guy versus the, more polished, respected striker, right? Hooper Borashev is obviously the discount cereal version of Barboza Mitchell, right? Probably, but still, very similar dynamic. And you see that perfect shot kind of, and that's all, because Barboza was winning the round, obviously like he should have been up until then, and then was winning round 2 until he gets taken down and can't get back up, and or round 3 or something like that. But yeah, point is, he gets dropped early, and that just left hand, that radar, like you just see that, like, he didn't really see it, Something about those left hands. You saw it too with the jab on Cerrone, which was part of the reason why I thought, even though it was a different stance, again, just using my basic forensic analytics, right, to break down fights, left-sided strikes versus right-sided strikes. We're, starting from being reductive and trying to pair and work our way down. And yeah, even from way back then, on trying to gather enough logic to pick Johnson MJ as a dog against Barboza, it was like, them left-sided strikes. So that's going to be definitely something here. And I'm looking at a plus 900 that I might put like a little over a quarter unit on, maybe just to hedge, like a Lerone Murphy round 1 knockout. Because otherwise, I think it's a competitive decision here. And in that, I like Barboza, not just for the output, not just for the experience, not just for the versatility, and not that I expect it to make a difference, but I was alluding that he was improving his offensive wrestling, and he is the higher-ranking Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter as well, so he does have an on-paper edge there as well. Not so much just those things, proven cardio, ability to come back even if he does get rocked early, and you got to finish this guy, right? All those things, but at the risk of revisiting and constantly referencing this so shameful fight of Jonathan Martinez, Jose Aldo, where everybody's focused on the leg, and even though everybody ended up being right, the body is jumping out to me here. And Lerone Murphy, for as well-formed as he is, he gets hit to the body a lot. And oddly enough, he got hit to the body a whole bunch when he fought the Brazilians in Gabriel Santos. And shout out to my guy Brazchuk, Douglas Da Silva, Dion Drugs, who I'm looking forward to seeing compete in this post-USADA era. I mean, that guy already looks like a mini Vitor. Looks like he's going to bust out of his 80s like studded, like cut off denim, Fucking Douglas Da Silva Andrade's going to come in here looking like a fucking Battletoad from fucking the late 80s, early 90s. That's right, Battletoad reference. Right? Doesn't he look like him though? Douglas Da Silva Andrade? Battletoad? Sorry. But yeah, where the fuck am I? But yeah, I think the body shots here are going to be real big. And even speaking of Douglas Da Silva, he even hits the spinning sidekick to the body and stuff. So I think that's going to have some play for Barboza here. Again, the small cage could encourage Murphy more action, which could both encourage Murphy to grapple more, but also could encourage Murphy just to have more output in general and perhaps bring out the best out of him in that respect, right? That being said, it's going to also bring about a more higher temperature than I think he likes to fight at. I think, again, back to Murphy can counter, he can pressure, but he really likes to kind of play that middle range and fence and feel the fight, and he'll work behind a nice double jab and change it across to the body, which I love. So he won't ignore the body either. Don't get me wrong there. But you want to talk about body work being a two-way street, and again, you want to talk about Dan Tom. Maybe it's a little bit of PTSD. We'll see here when you guys see my plays. But maybe I'm overcorrecting the steering wheel. Or maybe I'm keeping that same energy as far as backing Brazilian vets. But let's just say this reminder of the post-USADA, this stinging loss that I still have, this stupid Jonathan Martinez pick that I have, as stupid as I was to pick that guy, I'm also still upset about just everything about that. Perhaps I'm overcorrecting it here, but looking at Edson Barboza, I'm getting in a cucky MMA gambler territory where it's all about how they look and the stats and the reaches and this and that. I'm joking, obviously. It's not everything, but that's the shit that I talk. But no, because that's how I feel. And Barboza, looking great coming into this thing too. I would say usually you get an honest fight out of Barboza, except for, and I think about the last two fights, he had weird performances, and I'm like, oh yeah, I bet on him on those fights. That can't happen again, right? That doesn't sound like something that happens to me, much less again. Yeah. I got Barboza 1.5 units at plus 125 here. All means possible. Just win, baby, I guess, right? We got co-main event time. Chaos Williams minus 125. Charleston Harris. Come back on him from Guyana. Plus 105. So part of me was like getting max. I'm like, oh, I see the plus 115's going, and spoiler alert, I got plus 115. Spoiler alert, I'm on the not Brazilian guy. He's from Guyana. He just trains in Rio, and he's got the Portuguese accent that gives him his name. And though he sounds like he's honestly Carlston Harris here, he sounds like I tweeted it earlier. Remember the E-Bombs World, the G.I. Joe, the Jamaican G.I. Joe? Let me see if I can play it here. And shout out to my guy Ken Hathaway, he got Carlston Harris. But every time Carlston Harris, I think of this, and I hope you guys do too. And if you don't know this reference, you now will. And please go search G.I. Joe redubs on E-Bombs World. This was like a popular thing, like back for us old people back before YouTube was even a thing. But here's Carlston Harris here, folks, helping some kids with some advice, telling them not to do drugs, I think. Let's see.
Yeah, we should totally hit it again, but I get first dibs on it.
Hope you guys can
Shoot me come off, what's me nearly dead with laugh. I watch it people rush the door like a bash a choco. Fun time there, time for the bus ride. Sunshine there, a time for the bus ride. Sunshine there, a time for the bus ride. Fun time there, a time for the bus ride. No!
G.I. Joe!
All right. Sorry about that, folks. You guys hear that okay? But, Battletoads reference. Let's go. Fenyo's here for the Battletoads reference. All right, Douglas doesn't look like a fucking Battletoad, that guy. But yeah, hopefully that little Jamaican jingle will be what you guys hear now when you think of Carlston Harris. Hit that like button if you're joining us. Thank you. Viewership looks like it's popping up. But yeah, breakdowns, dude. Breakdowns. I'm getting there, bro. I'm getting to the breakdowns. I'm sorry. Sorry, Ghost. Or dude, let's go with I forget what he's saying. Oh no, he's not saying that. Sorry. I don't know what you're saying, Ghost. But yeah, so I was like going like, oh man, the FOMO is getting to me. Everybody's gonna bet the dog just because it's the dog. But then I'm seeing people on Williams' side too. So I'm like, Dan, it's gonna be pick a side and ride at these prices. For those of you familiar with my gambling language, it's pick a side and ride when it's these prices. Anyways, let this be motivation to do the tape, even though you don't want to, because it's clearly paying off every week, right? And clearly, working so hard is not taking a toll on your personal life or psyche at all. But no, it actually motivated me to do so because I was like, let's see. If you're going to find an edge, you really got to dig in at lines like this, right? To see if there is an edge. And if you do find one, well, no matter what side you're on, it's a playable line, right? And not just because it's the dog, and not just because it's the value dog, because what I didn't realize would help relax my FOMO was like, oh, wait, it doesn't matter what plus number I get Harris at, as long as I get a plus number, I got value. Again, that's another thing I hate about CLV, because I get CLV all the time. I don't mean shit. Still lose. And then when I do win, not only am I, God forbid, trying to be a classy winner. You ever heard of that? MMA Twitter, right? Not only that, but it's just like I definitely sure shit don't brag about the CLV, so that's why I just get extra annoyed with people bragging about CLV, much less bragging about CLV before the fact. Like Dan Tom Jerkoff GIF right there. But yeah, Harris opened the favorite, and public money pushed him because the explosive knockout guy. MMA Twitter loves that. Maybe I'm just being a hater. I don't know. Maybe my guy Fenyo can tell me. Just kidding. I love listening to the early prelims podcast, by the way, as I message Fenyo, because even though we're buddies and stuff, we're not planning shit, or much less having the same takes to have the same takes, or planning anything in general. So when we organically just have the same opinions, I always just feel like the Predator gift with my guy Fenyo, where I'm like, fuck yeah, bro. And yeah, it's just kind of like with Gomis, we just like certain fighters, I don't know if we felt that way about Ruzoboyev as well, but and I don't want, God, for lack of a better word, because I hate using this word, but it's a real popular one on MMA Gambling Twitter, the word fraudulent, the F word. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think, and by the way, I don't like that word, and I don't think that applies to Chaos Williams. This is a dangerous freaking dude, Chaos Williams, right? But I'm just not really a fan of his style. I don't think it's a really reliable style. It's not as low volume as it seems, especially if you go by the stats numbers, even though they're all crafty, but they always seem, especially on the live number reads, to be larger than you think they would for Williams. But I just don't think it's a reliable style, and I'm a fan of fighters who counter, right? And he counters in combination, right? But his blitzes are wild, and if anybody counters on him, he can be hurt. If anybody's long, he can have a problem. If they're long and they actually throw a jab, that actually gives him a lot of problems. Now, his best moments came off of jabs when he was facing Rude Boy Randy Brown, but Randy Brown was doing that, for lack of a better word, I'm not trying to hate on him, beat my ass. But that dumb thing where Randy will jab and kind of like overly dip and like, let me just dip right into a head kick, even though this is fucking MMA and I have ungodly reach on everybody in this division. Let me just drop down to your level, sir. And every time he did that, he got fucking clocked. Say what you will about Harris. He doesn't do that. Now, he's got really janky technique. He's got that weird, which sometimes it actually calls for. I forget what the combination. I got to go back to my notes and previous drills, but we were actually doing a drill where there was one. It was like the third punch in the combination, and it was meant to kind of paw down the guard. But you'll see kind of Carlson Harris throw a lot of his crosses like that. And you'll see a lot of Brazilians do it. I think Valmir Lazaro used to throw like that. I want to say an early Hawker Diaz maybe. I don't know if Talia Santos used to do that or if I'm thinking of Ketlin Vieira. But you see this weird kind of paw. Some of the Brazilians, I don't know if we'll do that. I don't know, but you even see that as a pawing strike. But Harris actually used to teach boxing, and you actually see it when he uses his lead hand because his lead hand's actually not bad, and he actually uses it. He hooks off his jab, he'll change his level off his jab, and when he does meet people, he's like deceptively. He looks like lanky, and he has been hurt, and his 2 stoppage losses of his 5 losses are by stoppage, and both those are by knockout in the first round. Which again, that's right up Chaos Williams' alley. So I totally get if that's what you think is going to happen, and that's why you're playing Williams. Even though buyer beware once you start getting if the chalk goes any higher on him though. But at the same time, that's a two-way street that, especially by the record, it's much more dangerous the other way because not just does Harris have deceptively heavy hands, not just does he have knockout power, which he has both those things. Not only can he counter, which he can also counter and just crash with the punches, which is actually when he does his best work. But oddly enough, when he hurts fighters and knocks them down and either finishes them by submission or this or that, or he just, even if it doesn't amount to anything or whatever, whenever he hurts fighters, when I'm going back to watch his footage, it actually a lot of the times comes after he's been hurt. So for whatever criticism you want to say, outside of those 2 times he's been stopped, which by the way, were against 2 really good fighters and prospects. One obvious prospect in the UFC, Shavkat Rakhmonov, and Al-Salawi only had 2 losses up until that point, and he only recently acquired half his losses, 3 in a row in the PFL recently. But Al-Salawi was one off from my prospects piece in 2021, which was probably good that he didn't make the cut because then it's after that year he starts to kind of drop off. I haven't followed him too closely. Maybe those were close losses. There's still hope to be had. He's still young, but point being that stoppage loss on his record, that guy is no can. So these were all prospects, especially when he fought them, for what that's worth, right? Williams not old, not young, just right in his prime at 30, dangerous as all hell. But if he doesn't get that stoppage early, I think that he's been playing with fire in general, for many reasons. For one, Chaos Williams will follow hurt fighters to the ground, which is silly. He's given away potential finishes, made fights closer, ended up losing fights. He's also followed those fighters to the ground when they are fighters that are like Randy Brown, who's finished fighters like Warley Alves, who we'll talk about in a little bit here, off his back. Just really, really dumb moves, right? And he hasn't faced very many grapplers. And even though he has lost to the people who have been decent grapplers, Michel Pineda and Randy Brown, those were striking fight losses because those guys don't pursue their grappling game aggressively, much less as aggressively as Harris, who this fight will be in the small cage as well, folks. But he's also playing with fire, Chaos Williams, with the way he goes in. He wades forward, he throws looping hooks, and he is very counterable. And I think once people kind of, can figure it out, and the higher level guys who aren't as easily intimidated or scared off will not only not be scared, but they will be salivating and seeing those openings. And I don't think Harris is that guy per se, but again, he has shown the tools. He doesn't show the front kicks that have been really effective on Chaos Williams, by the way. Or the leg kicks, by the way, which are also effective. I think everybody was afraid to kick Chaos Williams because his second fight, he counters the leg kicks of Abdul Razak Al Hassan, or as I like to call, Al Hassan, especially at 185, right? people were afraid. But if you actually look, Chaos Williams has actually gotten his leg hurt in almost like all his fights since then. So he's actually quietly very kickable, even though Harris doesn't do that much. But yeah, I could see Harris win all three ways by decision. Like against Jared Gooden, who also was a higher rank and a bigger guy, a higher rank in BJJ, and a bigger guy than Chaos Williams was, for whatever that's worth, right? And yeah, so it was just a money line shot, and I actually did find the plus 115, so I went 1.5 units. Give me a dog, baby. I'm sorry, I'm jinxing your guys' dog plays out here. Carlston Harris, 1.5 units. I just see him getting it by all methods possible. Again, this is another one where you won't get as good of a number, but you can still get maybe a decent number, probably around plus 350. I don't know if that can work or not, but if you want to hedge with like a Chaos Williams round 1 KO, not that he can't get the KO in other rounds as well, but if it goes late, chances are he's in bad positions. All right, we're gonna go with the next fight, which is, I gotta go find this shit on the thing. Itchy man. Okay, buddy. Itchy mans. I know. We need the dogs, Benjamin. We need the old dogs to come through. You like the sound of that. All right. Ramiz Brahimaj, plus 124. Yanez-Salvador, minus 148. No idea why it's on the main card, but hey, at least it's not like some low-level heavyweight fight, so I'll take it. I haven't really watched this one too close. I'm actually interested on the Brahimaj side because he is the better submission grappler. Brahimaj by sub might be in a round robin. If I get desperate for round robin stuff, I'm already exposed enough on the main and co-main, but for example, I don't have a round robin jotted, but maybe Edson by KO, or more particular, honestly, is a Harris by sub I'd be more interested in. Better number. But I definitely wouldn't mind, whether I pick or play him by putting a Brahimaj by sub, because I feel like that's the only thing worth playing. He's the plus money from a money line perspective, and the sub in the small cage, it just seems like it's there. Obviously, Gorimbo's going to be expecting it, but both, I know interviews are just interviews, but using the whole reverse psychology, the fact that Themba and Chaos Williams are both so adamant in saying, people are interested in my grappling. I can grapple. I'm like, ooh, they don't want to grapple. They don't want to grapple. So I'm really looking at those sub props right there. I self-admittedly didn't do tape, though, so even though I have a decent feel for this one, even though I don't care to do the tape, that's what I do. I got to write these fights up. You guys know me. I try not to give things in bad faith, even though bad faith is what is rewarded in this space, both in and out of the octagon, it seems like. For the most part, not everybody, not coming at everybody, but happy for my homies winning. But you know what I mean. Yeah, I'm not going to try to give you guys bad faith with that as far as takes that aren't heavily researched. So that's the lean. Check me at Dan Tom MMA, as you can see here, the creepy little thumb up to my name tag on the artist formerly known as Twitter. This next fight I did do tape study on. Wasn't able to. It's only 2 fights for a Southpaw report, and they're short, so maybe I still do one. Who knows? But again, not really, especially since tomorrow I'm actually trying to enjoy for once, which means I'm probably gonna be up late tonight, and since the stuff's not dropping until fight day, I don't know how. It would just be for the my audience, I guess, for the Southpaw report, so we'll see. But yeah, we got Adrian Yanez minus 395, Yanez-Salvador plus 310. This was a fight where I was looking, maybe there's a, if not picking or playing the dog for the value, because even though I agree that Yanez should be favored, this seems inflated. The price, right? I don't disagree with Yanez being favored at all. Spoiler alert, I'm picking Yanez, but I think it's inflated. But is it close enough? Again, get ready for people that want that easy dunk. Is it close enough to be a split decision? Dun, 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 dun. Little Dr. Evil thing as people go, he's calling for split decisions. Look at this stupid idiot. God, I hate that fucking take. Did I win anybody over, by the way? Let me know. And if you don't, you can argue with me too, by the way. You can say, no, Dan, I don't see that take. I don't know what you're talking about. Or I see that take. I disagree. But yeah, do you guys know what I'm talking about? A, and B, do you at least see my point on why I think it's so stupid to make fun of people for calling split decisions? Anyways, yeah, could it be that close? Unfortunately, I'm not confident in it because Salvador is moving up, and he's got a style that he likes to be the longer guy, and he's not going to have that. Now, he's faced that before, in his fights with Victor Altamirano, in the sense is very similar dynamic, except, Victor Altamirano was just an inch taller than Yanez is going to be, but similar dynamic as far as not the style, obviously, but complete different style. But as far as the length parity, right, goes. And but it's going to be a much more built-up version, not that Yanez is huge or some bulky juggernaut, but I mean he's an actual 35er. He's not a big 135er, but he's an actual 135er. And this will probably be the division where Salvador should be finishing his career anyway, so it's not like he's not a 35er. We'll see how well he grows into this weight class, but he just takes too many chances. His kicks are too flamboyant and they are hard, to where even if he wants to mix in, some more Thai style kicks than he usually does, seeing the success Jonathan Martinez had, I don't trust him enough because he mixes in those dainty, pardon me if that's not the right word, I definitely don't mean it in a negative, but you know what I mean, those flimsy, Jackson Wink style side kicks, not even the hard Khalil Roundtree ones, right? Or he does the Ricardo Ramos, maybe dainty is more appropriate for this, that kind of behind the leg, kick where his leg goes behind his knee and he's and he flips the I'm not trying to hate, I'm just saying it's what they do. It's the move, right? Which doesn't score for shit or hurt anybody's leg. So I'm I don't know if I can really count on that. And whether or not you see me clip it on the Southpaw report, I am bummed to report that Yanez still doesn't use his jab in the open stance. He's 0-2. You got to go back to LFA against Domingo Polarte, which granted was a super long southpaw, and that was obviously a heavy grappling performance that won him that fight, if you're familiar with Polarte's style. However, if you go to the Davey Grant fights and Tony Kelly fights, his defense doesn't look great, and again, you see his striking not so much limited because he still does everything, he still variates, goes to the body, variates different strikes, hands and feet, as Yanez does, right? But it's he just does everything but the jab, and it's so frustrating. And that's a key, obviously, stick together for offense as well as his offense, and you can tell he also keys off of it really well. I really don't think he likes fighting southpaws, and I'm doesn't he train with Eve Edwards a bit too, and cross train with him? And I'm well, that didn't stop you from picking him a southpaw against him last time, right, Dan? When you picked Jonathan Martinez, I'm that's true. Well, let me go look, and I went and looked, and he's training with Lobo's gym, so we did another camp change. Now, Lobo's gym's good. He's training with our guy here, friend of the show. Not really, but you know what I mean. I'm a big fan of his. Diego Lopez, right? But Diego Lopez ain't a southpaw. I mean, he can switch up occasionally, but he's not a southpaw. And in fact, remember the one kind of criticism about that gym is, when we saw with the home fight, what is it? Aren Aldana, right? It was a really bad preparation for the southpaw, so I don't know if that's the camp is exactly known for their prep against southpaws, right? So that scares me. So I'm gonna pick Yanez, and usually when he wins if he wins by decision, it's kind of sketchy because he usually takes fights, even if he takes some time to adjust. Once he gets his rhythm, he'll run away with a fight generally. Not at these higher levels. They've been harder fights when they get the decision, win or lose, right? Or he's been losing actually by not decision, but you know what I mean. Regardless if you think it should have been a split or not against Grant or whatever, but I'm just saying he allows it some closeness there, right? A little too close for comfort, right? So that worries me as far as laying the chalk. I'm not looking to parlay ever, really, but much less on this card so far, and I wouldn't know about parlaying Yanez. I imagine he's going to be a popular parlay piece. I'm wishing you the best if you're playing him. But honestly, I would incorporate some kind of split decision as a potential bonus or hedge in there. Because you could get a weird fight still. I'm going to go with Yanez by decision, though. Angela Hill minus 135. Luana Pinheiro plus 114. I haven't looked into this fight yet, but I'll have to. They're opening the main card. In their defense, this will be an action fight. They are picking what should be action-friendly fights on paper, unless it's low-level heavyweight slop, in the matchmaker's defenses. But again, whether you look just above this fight or just below it, there are perfectly viable options there. And they just refuse to use 145, 155, or even the booming and banging, constantly stacked, overcrowded 135 to open up these main cards. God damn it. They're going to the ladies to open it up. And I got to look into this one a little closer. I'm not going to give you guys too hard of takes. Again, I'm going to try not to give you guys bad faith and an effort of speeding this up, as I already went across time. People in the future are already laughing at me because I already failed. But I am leaning toward Angela Hill. Unfortunately, she doesn't get it out of there. It could, be some Angela Hill fuckery, but, she's been quietly getting better. I like Angela Hill. I don't know if I like her enough to bet her, even though you can find a slight discount on the line depending where you look. Not much of one. It is playable chalk. Best of luck to you. Best of luck to Angie. Check me on fight day, leaning toward Hill to see where I end up on that one. Speaking of inflated lines, we got Tom Nolan minus 485, Victor Martinez plus 370. It actually opened pretty wide. It didn't completely inflate to this level, but inflated wide nonetheless. Obviously, they're looking for Nolan to get him a get-right spot, but still, I'm not sure about that. Victor Martinez is 0-1 against UFC level southpaws. This is the other southpaw report I have to go check out, but I haven't done tape on this fight yet, and I got to go back to watch his TKO loss to Jordan Levitt. So yeah, I could see why Nolan is favored. So I'll probably pick Nolan, but regardless of what I pick, that is not a fight I am looking to get involved in. Not much on the paper and the sheet on this one. I didn't get it on my bio sheet from UFC, but Umar C minus 225 versus Antonio Tricoli plus 220, who was booked previously for a UFC fight. They're bringing him in now. No idea. Don't care. Nor do I care about Melissa Gatto versus Tamiris Vidal. Melissa Gatto minus 340. That's a big favorite. Jesus. Versus Tamiris Vidal plus 270. From what I remember, these two, I definitely favor Gatto, but I'm not comfortable with that price tag, and I'm not going to look into it to decide whether or not it's justifiable. What's the point? Alves-Magomedov minus 270, opened at minus 185. Jesus. It inflated even more than that. It's come down to earth a bit with Warley Alves as your underdog plus 220. So you guys know I'm not a fan of Warley Alves. I barely pick him, much less never play him. I always look to fade me some Warley Alves. I feel like he was super hyped. The question was it deserved or not? And a lot of my friends that I respect, some of them are in the chat right now. Shout to them. I got Braschuk in here. Tried some comments. Elmo's garbage predictably didn't work. Tried to send some comments in Elmo's garbage, but it predictably didn't work. I don't know what that means. Elmo Street Fighter, is that a Sesame Street? A lot of people I know respect Warley, but I've had history playing against him, and it's worked. One of my best hits was Brian Barberena. No one was on him. That was real impressive. At the time, that I remember looking real good on that one. Girl I was dating at the time. Remember her mom messaged her and goes, "Hey, your boyfriend's the analyst guy. Ask him who to pick and bet on in this fight." And said, "She wants to know for this fight." I'm like, "Okay, tell her Barberena." And the lady, the mom knew enough about odds, but she was like, "He's nearly like a 4 or 5-1 underdog. What the hell?" She's like, "Trust me, that's who Dan has." And sure enough, he came through. And I guess I made her look like a fucking genius. Not just the bet, but she called it or something at the bar she was at with her friends, and she looked like a fucking genius and took credit for it, of course. But I was like, all right, points there. Remember looking genius for that one. But I said that all to say is that this line is fucking off. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't normally do this. I don't advocate doing this, even though everybody and their mom does this. And I'm familiar enough with both these fighters, by the way. I've done work on Alves-Magomedov, looking him up back when I did PFL work briefly on his early seasons when he lost to "Put the guns down, Louis Taylor, put the guns down. Used to be handguns. Let's put the guns down." Love me some Louis Taylor. But yeah, man, Alves-Magomedov is a bust, man. Again, the reason why I fade Warley Alves is because he's a one-round guy. If anybody's shown that they're a one-round guy, it's Alves-Magomedov. What is a one-round guy who is less proven? I can't fade a one-round guy with another one-round guy, especially when that one-round guy, being Alves-Magomedov, has a worse gas tank, has worse staying power, less proven, less UFC experience. Talk about a blind bet worth a betting, a pick worth a picking. Warley Alves all day. I had to jump on it when I saw it at plus 245. I don't care if that was the highest. That's more than enough value for me just for one unit. And that'll almost pay off both the other dog shots if it hits. We'll see. And we'll see if I add another dog shot again. Who knows? Maybe maybe I like Ramiz Brahimaj enough to add him. But yeah, give me Warley Alves. I don't think there's really any other dogs that I'll like on here, spoiler alert, but we'll go through the card nonetheless. We've got Ariane-Carnelossi. Shout out to a guy sparring with reality, sent a funny dodgeball tweet. That was hilarious, referencing this fight. Carnelossi plus 185, Piero Rodriguez minus 225. I'll probably lean toward Rodriguez, but I don't want nothing to do with that fight. Maybe I'll take Carnelossi in a Tout Master. Heili-Rodriguez plus 130, Clayton Rodriguez plus 155. I'm leaning toward Rodriguez, but I don't know if I could play chalk against Heili-Rodriguez. I don't know how much respect I have for Rodriguez, but maybe enough not to play him. It looks like that Costa spot that I have FOMO on, and perhaps you might too if you see it. Maybe you want to hit it and make up for not playing that Costa spot, the other card, right? That seemed like obvious in hindsight against Borjas. But I don't know. Just like I had respect for Borjas, I got some respect for Alatang as well, despite not picking him. So we'll see if it's an obvious pick and should have been a play in hindsight. But I'll take Clayton Rodriguez, and I wish you the best if you played him. Emily Ducote minus 380, Yanez-Salvador plus 300. So a little positive for the bad luck crew in the house. So I found one, folks. It shows you how honest of a guy I am, because I'm outing myself and breaking my own trend. Although, I think this is number 5, so I still think we still only need one hand to count the bad beats that have gone our way. However, one of those 5 bad beats actually did come on a winning night. I know! I mean, low bar to clear, folks, but I'm just being honest because, believe it or not, I'm not trying to be negative. I actually try to be positive. But yeah, I actually, Yanez-Salvador, even though it was just a value pick, I threw it on a round robin, and I just threw a unit on it just because there wasn't much to play on that card, and it was for value. It did hit, and I went back, and I actually went back to my records and stuff, and I actually won on that card. Now, maybe kind of in my defense, my biggest bet of that night was Bill Algeo. That decided my night, so I would have won either way. For whatever it's worth. I still actually would have won that night either way, granted. But we got to come clean, right? We got to be honest. God forbid, be positive once in a while. We did finally find one of the very few bad beats that I've been on since 2021 that actually went my way, and I still actually went on to win the night and not lose it anyway, so it was all for fucking nothing. For what that's worth. Anyways, but despite that, I'm not going to pick Domopolous here. I'll pick Ducote, and I will stay away. All right, going to recap the chat and get the fuck out of here because I ran long. Let's see here. Jimmy Kudo, Jose Waldo, Acosta. F that dude to high heavens. That's right. Fenyo, remember when they used to make stare downs in the middle of the cage for co-mains because they were so good? Oh, yeah, man. I feel like we haven't seen that in forever. Ghost Phantom says, the question is, can Murphy pressure Edson in a way where he doesn't eat a knee coming in? Because Edson's weakness is pressure, but pressuring him is not free. Absolutely, and those knees will probably go to the body a lot, even though he's got head knockouts. And but I see that body being open to Murphy, like I said. So great note there, though, Ghost. Ghost continues. He says, Edson doing the right hand under the jab against Sadiq, which was cool and highlighted by mid-class. Yeah, I shared that. That was a good highlight. I really liked that. Fedyo, Battletoads reference. Rash, the GOAT. Right down, dude, let's go. Saw some Ramiz round 1 sub plus 500. Ooh, I like that, Brad. Maybe that's what I throw in the round robin there. Jesus, Grimbo's got a lot on his plate too. Did you see him break down in the press conference? I felt bad for the guy. I'm like, Christ, man, Jesus. By the way, way to go to that South African wrestling coach, right? Like, he flew a South African wrestling coach out there. I was like, first of all, it's like, bro, take care of your mom. Forget about your friend's training camp. You know what I'm saying? Like, Themba's training up here in the United States. No offense, but I think he can find some good wrestling training partners and coaches. I don't think he needs need someone coming all the way from South Africa when their mother's really, sounds really sick. And I wish them all the best, obviously. But if you are going to do that, maybe don't tell the guy to where he's breaking down crying. Jesus Christ. Anyways, wish them the best. But yeah, we'll see where I end up on that fight. Purple Burb, do you think Murphy has the physicality to impose pressure on Barboza? Physicality, yes, but is his style? We haven't seen him inherently dedicate himself to it, A. And B, there are costs to it, to Ghost's point. Barboza's gotten so much better with his footwork, countering. He's not just relying on old tricks. Barboza's boxing has really, really gotten better. His countering and his at 145, he hasn't even had to kick as much. It's been crazy. A bus has no gas. Magomedov, Rain would be proud. Nice, that's a good one. Ghost Phantom. Carnelossi never fights. Always tested. Great deltoid muscles. Absolutely. Purple is Burb. Also, is it appropriate to say that Murphy could pull a Bryce Mitchell here? You stole the words right out of my mouth. Hopefully I answered that with my analysis there, Purple Burb. And thank you for participating. I appreciate that. Purple Burb also says, considering that Mitchell doesn't have much in physicality, but will still be able to successfully professional Barboza in the big cage, no less. Yes. Although, you could argue part of that was due to the typical, does the striking become worse because he was so worried about his wrestling, which won't be the case necessarily for Murphy. Purple Burb also love your potty. Thanks for the Fafeda and Smith picks. Oh, cool, man. Glad. I appreciate I can help out even when I'm losing and stuff, and even being annoying if I'm still of help. Thank you, guys. Thank you for sitting with me. Let's recap and get through this, shall we? I'm going to recap picks and plays. Thank you, guys. Hit that like button. Any last-minute comments come through, feel free. Like Ghost just sent one. He said, how sad is it that the UFC doesn't care about Road to UFC? Absolutely. Thank you for reminding me. I have shouts here. Even I've been bad. Look at me. Here's how much I've been on the UFC schedule. I've got UFC Hive Mind. I didn't even shout out Asian American Pacific Islander Month, even though Road to UFC doesn't qualify for that. Nor is that the reason why they're doing it this month, folks. Because they don't even promote it, even if it was related, which it's not. Yeah. Screw me for that as well. But yeah, UFC doesn't promote that because we don't promote Asian things, UFC doesn't do woke shit, but they will celebrate everything. From Pride Month to I even see the account throw Eddie Murbach out there, but God forbid we even get Asian Americans, much less Asians or Pacific Islanders, or they're Asian markets, all underserved. So that's just the way it goes. All right, recapping for UFC Vegas 92, not in Asia, taking Barboza over Murphy, Lerone Murphy. Oh. Taking Carlston Harris over Chaos Williams. Leaning toward Brahimaj over Gorimbo. Check me on Fight Day. Taking Yanez over Salvador, but not as confident as the line is. Leaning toward Hill over Pinheiro, but check me on Fight Day. Probably taking Nolan over Martinez, but check me on Fight Day. I'll probably take C over Tricoli, but who cares? Don't check me anywhere on that one. Probably taking Gatto over Vidal, but check me on Fight Day at Dan Tom MMA. Taking Alves over a bust Magomedov. Probably taking Rodriguez over Carnelossi, but check me on Fight Day. Might switch it out in Tout Master. Probably taking Rodriguez over Alotang. Check me on Fight Day. Taking Ducote over Domopolous. Check me on Fight Day. As of right now, my only plays are Barboza plus 155, 1.5 units. Harris plus 115, 1.5 units. Alves plus 245, 1 unit. So yeah, minus one Guyanan. I don't know how you say it. It's all Brazilians, or at least all fighters who fight or have fought out of Brazil. However you want to keep it. Round robins, what I'm looking at, maybe KO by Barboza if I can't think of anything. Maybe some sub action for Harris, some sub action for Brahimaj, maybe some split decision propage for either Hill-Pinheiro, but they probably won't let me. So maybe it forces me to look at a split decision for like Salvador Yanez, maybe to be cheeky there, since I'm probably not going to take anything else. And unless I find something else in my studies, and I'm not interested to study much more than what I have to, who knows? Maybe we just go back to the 4 round robins, because that winning Domopolous card, I hit her in a round robin with something else. I forget what it was. It was probably a round prop, but it was only a 4. I didn't have a 5-leg plus a hedge 5-leg or a hedge 4-leg. No, I just had 4 legs, and I was hitting these motherfuckers, even further proving why the round robins are not bad. Even just my terrible bad luck and picks here. So we will see. Also thoughts on Van versus Tyra. Not now. Got to go watch that fight, but I am favoring Van for sure, but we'll see. Van plus 270 underdog? What? In Asia? What? I favor... Well, okay, I got to watch the... You know what? I got to watch the grappling, though. He might be one of those guys, now that I'm thinking about it, who gives bad positions but can scramble out. So it's that kind of perception at play. I'm going to have to look more into it. Another reason why I don't like giving too early takes. But sorry, that's the best I could do. Thank you for commenting, Purple Burb. All right, thank you guys for coming in live. Apologies for not a shorter show, for being late. We'll try to do better. God forbid, maybe we'll get a winning night, and who knows. And I'll be back next week. I'm actually going to do a top 5 show next week. I got my guy Ryan Awag coming on. He got his own podcast, and his Patreon started up, so go support him. The Miguel classes, the Fanios, Fight Sites of the world. Everybody, you guys know. You guys know who you are. All right. Good luck with your picks and plays. Be good to each other. And always protect your neck.